Welcome back to another episode of Millennial Real Life Budget Review. I'm sure you've probably encountered something as what this couple is going through. Not being able to get your significant other on board financially, especially when you have 6 figures in debt. Stick around. Hey fam, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Justine. Here we talk about all ways to crush your debt, achieve financial confidence that leads to more fun and fewer payments. And is this couple having fun? No. Do they have a lot of debt? Yes. And we are going to get into all of the nitty-gritty details. And bonus, I found when I was running through this woman's application, I was like, you know what? I think what they need is just a couple of talking points and scripts to help get their partner on board financially. So stick around. If you're like, yes, I need some talking points to talk to my significant other about finances and do so without it ending in a blow-up fight, then this video is for you. So I asked, what do you do for work? She said she is a loan assistant at a mortgage company and her husband is in sales. Their annual salary, hers is $90K, husband's is variable, roughly $100K. So all in, they're bringing in $190,000 per year, which is fantastic. They live in Fresno, California, the Wichita of California, I feel like. Only instead of Kansas City being like 2-3 hours away from you, literally Yosemite National Park is only a few hours away from you. Loved Fresno when I stopped in, so I get you. It's still high cost of living. I asked, what is the biggest thing you struggle with financially? They said, getting the significant other on the same page, consistently over budget with groceries, miscellaneous household spending. Every few months, there's a new thing that comes up and it gets us in more debt. We had very different upbringings, and following a budget is a big point of contention. He feels we make too much to not indulge. I feel we make too much to have this much debt and nothing to show. I get it. Next question I asked her, what are your top 2 to 3 financial goals you want to accomplish? They said, number 1, pay off debt, not including the auto loan yet. Okay. Number 2, contribute to retirement. I stopped mine because I see how tight we are and it makes me sick to my stomach. Number 3, buy a house in 3+ years after the kids are done with daycare. I asked, how much debt do you have? They have $104,188 and they have $7,745 in an emergency fund. They also gave me some more deets. And so I want to share the deets with you. So they are mid-30s couple, so millennial couple with 2 toddlers, both work full-time. She said, I cannot get him to discuss finances or follow a budget at all without it ending in a fight. I manage money as much as I can, but it's not just like tracking expenses. Over 40% of income goes to just rent and childcare. So they gave me a couple talking points here. Recently did a balance transfer. She says, I know, I'm desperate. Childcare will be cut in half when toddler goes to school in August 25. Amen to that. My income was cut about $2,000 a month and I'm struggling to readjust. I'm curious why that happened and why you're still with your current employer if you've had a $24,000 a year pay cut. I'd be looking for a new job. I know you're going to eat me up on the auto loan. It's husband's car, family car. I have a rinky-dink 12-year car with no loan. Okay. Kids' necessities is only the essentials or things required by daycare. Home maintenance this month was rough. Seemed like everything ran out at once and we buy in bulk. I need to start a sinking fund. Should we get into the budget? I think we should. Let's see what we got going on. I'm going towards the debt table first. So we've got a lot of different debts here. We've got, we owe money to the IRS. I see that more often now. I see so many people owe money to the IRS because their tax withholdings actually were not withholding enough money from their paychecks. And spoiler alert, your payroll department really doesn't do much on that end. You really need to be working with a CPA in order to figure out exactly how much tax withholdings you should have from a paycheck, because we went through this experience where Kyle wasn't withholding enough taxes from his paycheck of no fault of his own. Anyway, side note, I see that more often now in the last maybe 2 years than I ever have. Okay, so Best Buy It looks like you bought maybe an appliance. Oh, and did you pay it off? Because it says actual monthly payment $19.53, total debt $12.49. Confused there, but maybe you paid it off. I'm assuming a washer dryer. We've got a Citi credit card with $6,000 on it. We've got a Citi Costco card that's close to $14,000. Your minimum monthly payment, holy cow, $453. Yikes. Apple with a balance of $7,800. Bank of America, oh man. Bank of America, I'm telling you, this is such a predatory bank. I would, get rid of those. $99.80, so $8,000 of that has a 0% interest until 2026. Same with Discover. We've got about $8,000, 0% until late 2025. And then this car loan. What kind of car did you guys buy? $52,000? I'm guessing a top of the line SUV with a third row seat or a truck. Your payment, she was like, warning, you're gonna eat me alive. It's okay. It's a lot though. It's a lot. $1,084 going towards a car payment. That's just the car payment. Not your tags, not your insurance, not your gas, not any maintenance, God forbid. That's just the payment. Whew, man, that's a lot. Okay, your total monthly take home though was $10,543. So not too shabby there. Let's take a look at some of the other expenses that you have. So you said you had some home maintenance stuff that came through that was kind of like a high expense month for you, but then you also said you wanted to buy a house in about 3 years, so I was confused if you rented or you owned, or maybe there was some home maintenance things, because here it is, home maintenance of $290. Your landlord would be theoretically taking care of that for you, unless it was something else that wasn't covered and it was on you guys, but $2178 is what you got going towards your house payment, essentially. So out of the $10,000, we've got 22% going towards the house payment, rent payment, which is actually really, really freaking good. But as you alluded to, add in childcare, which is another 20%. You got 40% of income going towards childcare. Totally get it. Understood. California is a high cost of living area, and so yes, it's gonna, unfortunately, that's what it's going to be until you get your kid into it. Pre-K now is covered by the public education system out there. So once your oldest turns 4, then hopefully we can get those costs reduced. Internet looks good. Electricity is high, but you're kind of more inland, so I imagine you're running the air a lot. Groceries, holy cow. You actually spent close to $1,500 on groceries. Can we look at ways to maybe shop at cheaper stores, maybe like a Walmart, maybe an Aldi, or they had a food for less in Southern California? I would be looking at some of those places. Car maintenance, you want to start a sinking fund for that, get it. Car insurance, $246, assuming that's covering 2 vehicles for you. Grandma's insurance, we're covering grandma's insurance? Home maintenance, cell phone, I'm not a fan of that. $32 installment, $323 balance, and $16 subscriptions. And then the data plan, right? So yeah, I would just get out of this and see if you have a device protection on it, because that's another area where I always take device protection off if I have a really healthy and robust emergency fund. So between everything for the basics, you've got about $7,000 in just basic spending. So we're looking at between $14,000 to $21,000 in your starter emergency fund based on these costs alone. Now you could potentially take out childcare. Like if you were to lose your job, then you're like, well, I'm not sending the kids to daycare full time or maybe I'm going to keep one kid at home, so that there's some wiggle room here. But I definitely want you to increase your emergency fund. I would increase it to 10 and then 12 and then 14, and then we can kind of reassess the situation. But wouldn't it feel amazing to have $10,000 to $14,000 in your emergency fund, and you're already way ahead because you have 1 month of living expenses already saved. Let's take a look at the fun. You actually look really good on fun. $604, I think, and $200 to miscellaneous. I don't think you need that much, but I think this is probably a point of contention here, where you've got this so tight because all of the fixed expenses are so high. So this is where we could actually kind of play with this and say, well, we've got to make some adjustments. Also, I see that you're in the negative here. Let's take a look at what else you've got going on. You have nothing going to the emergency fund. This is where I would be shifting this miscellaneous buffer and shifting it into the emergency fund. And then you've got all these other different little sinking funds, which I absolutely love. You want to save $75. Well, date night, yeah, if you have to hire a babysitter, plus dinner, plus drinks, plus going out, I get that. Family, clothing. Okay, you got $571 that you're trying to actively save for. However, let me make sure that all of your formulas are set up correctly here. Okay, you are negative $709 in the hole. We have got to fix that. I also saw auto maintenance was here, and then car maintenance was up at the top. So let's just go ahead and take that out. So now we're only $600 in the hole. It's like, actually, I have to take out all of these different sinking funds and the future goals. And now we're kind of at this place where it's like, okay, I might have to lower your grocery budget, to be honest. Oh my gosh. And then you guys had a major gas bill. Gas high due to emergency out of state drive. $450 is average. Let's do that, $450. And then we may have to reduce this. You know what I see is the issue? I think it is the family car that is the issue. Imagine if we could reduce the car payment from $1,000 to, let's call it $500. Then we've got some wiggle room. Then we can actually do some things. If we had to make one change, this is the biggest change that you could make, instead of trying to be like, oh, we can't eat out, oh, we can't spend money, we can still have a second vehicle, we can still have a family car, but not have it at $1,000 monthly payment with $52,000 owed. We need to have some hard conversations about this family car and see what we can do to really shape things up for you. Because I couldn't, at this point, if I move this back to $1,000, I've only got $31 and I've got nothing saved. Nothing saved for sinking funds, and we're barely having any fun as it is. In fact, I feel like the car is sucking out all of the fun in your life, because that is the biggest thing. Unless you guys are like, I'm gonna get a big fat raise and it's gonna be like a 40% raise, then maybe it's not working. It's not working. This is the biggest piece of the puzzle. I don't think incomes can get any higher, like really jump, unless you guys were to completely jump ship from your companies. Perhaps you could maybe talk about that with your mortgage company. I don't know what your husband's bonus structures are like in sales, but this is another area maybe you could increase, but something that you can control immediately, because you can't always control how much you're going to get in a raise with your company, but we can control what we're driving. So this could be easily something that we take a look at. And I know you said you already did some balance transfers, which were these 0%. Let's take a look at the debt reduction calculator real quickly, and then I'm gonna get into some scripts for you to use to get you guys on board together financially. But I went ahead and plugged in all of your numbers. So collectively, just on minimums, On minimums alone, you're paying close to $2,400 a month. Let me double check that. Yep, $2,400 a month in minimum debt payments. So if I was to do just an extra $600 a month, and let's call it $3,000 going towards debt every single month, it's actually not a bad plan for you guys, because I can get you debt free in 3.5 years, which is fantastic. Where's my car loan? 3.5 years, oh boy, but we're not saving anything. That's the biggest thing. That is the biggest culprit here. If we could actually get you, if this car loan, let's say we traded it in for something that was less, let's call it 35,000. What if this was 500? Oh my gosh, you guys. We went from 3.5 years to 2 years, 10 months. We've shaved 8 months off of your life and made it 8 months shorter. I mean, that's fantastic. That's certainly what I would be thinking about. We can still drive a really nice car and a really nice family SUV and be debt-free in less than 3 years. I think that'd be awesome for you. Obviously, talking about trading in your $52,000 family car, husband's car, is gonna be a point of contention alongside your budget. So I wanted to include some scripts to help you get each other on board financially on the same page so that you're working on the same side of the table. And my first script for you to use is, would you be opposed to me sharing an idea about the budget? Would it be ridiculous if I showed you a financial goal that I've been working on? You want to frame the question in such a way that the answer that you want to get is a no instead of a yes. And here's why. When we get a question where we're getting a yes response back, a yes response, especially when we're talking about negotiating, getting each other on board financially, a yes feels like you're pinning me into a corner. A yes feels like I'm signing up for something that I don't really know what the end result is going to be, and I don't like that. I'm already feeling defensive, like, yes, but I don't know, like, let me hear you out. So when we can phrase it as, would it be weird if I shared this financial goal that I've been working on with you? No, that's not weird at all. Sharing, sure, yeah, whatever. Or would you be opposed to me sharing an idea about the budget? No, I wouldn't be opposed to that. So see how we're framing the question from this yes response to a no response. This is a really great way to start working together and collaborating on your finances. The next script to use is, I'm curious, what if we didn't have debt payments? What would we spend the money on instead? Or, I'm curious, have you ever thought about our retirement plans? What do you envision? When you come from a place of curiosity and use this I'm curious, it allows the other side, it allows your partner to open up about their ideas. Perhaps there's something that they haven't shared or haven't even thought about, and now you're giving them the opportunity to step up and share those things. Be an active listener, engage with them in that even if their vision does not align with yours at all, actively listening, hearing them out is really gonna help you guys come together as a couple on your money. The next script, this one's gonna sound weird, but this is one you'll wanna use. It is, I have something to share with you about our finances, but I'm afraid to tell you because you're going to think I'm a big fat loser. You can use something along those lines of, you're probably going to think the worst of me when I share this with you, and I'm so scared to tell you. Calling out the worst case scenario, calling out what they may or may not be thinking, and they would never say it out loud, right? Like, and they probably don't think you're a big fat loser, but you're over exaggerating it. So when you build it up, so like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be so insane, they're like, no, it's fine. Like, don't talk about yourself that way. Let's, like, what is it? I'll hear you out. That's when we can start really shifting and creating this, calling out this worst case scenario, because it's going to disarm them from even thinking those things because you're calling it out loud. This next statement I love. And it is, seems like you have a reason for saying that. I love this. By the way, this is a tool that I got from Chris Voss, who has a book called Never Split the Difference. Highly recommend. Chris Voss is an ex-FBI hostage negotiator who has started his own company to help people increase their negotiation skills. So you're like, oh boy, I have to be an FBI hostage negotiator? No, you just need to learn some of the phrases in order to help you understand and get to an agreement and a collaboration with your partner. So seems like you have a reason for saying that. When you use that phrase, seems like, sounds like you have a reason for saying that, it gives the other side an opportunity to share, yes, and this is why. It gives them an opportunity to elaborate on their thoughts and gives you context of how they formed this belief. It also shows that you care and that you're listening to your significant other when you can call it out and say, okay, I'm taking an educated guess here. Seems like you really care about what we drive and what we have as our family vehicle. It sounds like this car is really important to you. Being able to just say that statement allows them to elaborate on why this might be true for them. This next script is, how am I supposed to do that? When you say, how am I supposed to do that? It gives your partner the opportunity to empathize with your situation and step into your shoes. As in, we're gonna keep the car, we're gonna indulge, we're gonna spend. Well, how am I supposed to do that? You can show your partner your budget and say, is it ridiculous that I show you this? I just want another set of eyeballs on this to make sure I'm not missing anything. When we actually see the numbers of our budget coming together, it gets real easy to not ignore anymore, but now we're actively engaged in saying, oh yeah, I see what you mean. I want to indulge on our money. I want to enjoy our money, but it doesn't really seem like we're enjoying our money because so much of it is going towards debt. And lastly, I want you to get to a point where you're getting a that's right instead of you're right from your partner. And here's what I mean by that. You can use that seems like statement and start paraphrasing and summarizing what they've been sharing with you as you've used those other scripts. Seems like you think we ought to enjoy our money and spend it on the things that we truly love and have fun with. Seems like you feel comfortable with the way things are financially. Last time we spoke about finances, you shared that we make a solid income to support our family. When you can start summarizing and say seems like, sounds like, pause, give them the opportunity to think about it and say, that's right. I agree with that. You're right is like, oh, you're right. How many times have you said you're right and then you just went back to doing the same old, same old? You say you're right because you're like, just get off my back already. Okay, I agree with you. You're right, whatever. And then you go back to the same habits. When you get them to say that's right, it gets them to break down any barriers that they might have so that you guys can start collaborating together on your finances. It's not his car and her car, it's our cars. And together we are going to make a plan for our cars to figure out what works best financially. I mean, you talked about it in your goals. You want to pay off the debt, not including the car loan, which is like the first one I went after. Contributing to retirement. How are we supposed to do that? How am I supposed to do that? Contribute to retirement when we're barely making all of the bills and all the bill payments. How are we supposed to buy a house in 3 years when we have no down payment to show for? Having these conversations with your partner is really going to help you guys get on board financially. Please try some of these scripts out. Come back and comment. Let me know. For the person that I'm reviewing this budget, please email me and tell me exactly how those conversations went. And I'm hoping and I'm guessing it'll be much more productive when you have some of these scripts ready to go and use them in a way that's compassionate, that you are listening to the other side, that we are coming together with our finances. Now, if you would like to have your own budget reviewed anonymously here on the channel, click on the Google form link below, fill out as many details as possible. The more details you give me, the better, and the better advice that I can give to you. And I'll catch you in the next one.